Okay, here's my story on Aphrodite. I told everybody that when I was young, I contacted Pan. That's true. But I think the first deity that I ever came in contact with was Aphrodite. Because actually, there was an incident when I was young, and there was an incident when I was older. And I will tell you about both incidences real quick. The first incident, I'm not too sure if it was Aphrodite or basically Diana, my patron goddess, who I claim is the goddess. I'm both dual theistic and polytheistic, kind of because of this certain situation. When I was young, I basically moved a lot, okay, because of my mother. Well, we moved in a rickety old station wagon the mechanics swore would never make it out west from Ohio. It made it clear to Casper, Wyoming, and broke down here. A couple years later, my mom said, because she was always trying to get to big mountains, big dreams. She was a Libra. There you go. But she said, pack your bags, we're moving to bigger mountains. We headed for Seattle. But the rickety old station wagon, the same station wagon that we left out of Ohio in, broke down in Missoula, Montana. And I had gone to school. And I'd say probably like a week into me going to the school, I was walking up some steps one day, and I heard a voice. Now, when I say hear, I don't mean with my ears. I mean with my third eye. It's a totally different sensation. It was like inside of my brain. Not with my ears, once again. But there was a voice, and this is the first time I ever heard, in my third eye, heard another voice. And it was a woman's voice, totally different from my own. And she said, totally unexpectedly, "Are you going to love him?" Well, there was a boy walking up the steps, and I instinctively answered to the voice in my mind, in my third eye. Love him? I hardly even know him. And then, this was also very strange for me at the time, I could empathically feel her emotions. I could feel her feelings. I could feel her doubt. And basically, if I wanted to sum it up to words, she said back to me empathically, uh-huh. Well, every day after that, because I'd always see him here or there, I fell more deeply in love with him. And I say in love because that's the only way to put this emotion, this feeling. It was like a connection, very, very, very deep. And every time I saw him, it grew stronger. Now today, what would I call that? Well, I'd say that he was probably my soulmate or twin flame. But that's how we relate it in metaphysics now. But as far as then, I didn't know what was happening to me. I was just a little girl. I was only 12 years old. And one day my mom said, pack your bags. We have to move back to Ohio, the hellhole for me. At the time, I believed in God in an eclectic way, I guess you could say. I went to the Three Forks River in Missoula during a snowstorm. I figured if I suffered, God would hear me. And I prayed to God, and I explained to him that, please, just, there's another 2 weeks. Please help my mom get a job so we could stay here, because right now I don't think that I could ever, go away from this boy. Well, she had put resumes in, applications and stuff. She still couldn't find a job. And nobody called her. And this was clear back, way back when. But, so we had to move back out to Ohio. And it crushed me. Basically, I went through a really dark time in my life, thinking that God wasn't there for me, blah, blah, blah. This invisible God that I spoke to never answered, never said, hey, maybe I'm going to make a little bit better for you. Never even healed me. But what did help is I got a Ouija board, and regardless of what they say, I personally believe that there are oracle spirits on it. That's just my belief. And that they are there to communicate with people. Whether or not they're good, that's a different thing. You've got to kind of be in control. You've got to cast that circle. But anyhow, because of the spirit that I met over the Ouija board, and I communicated with her telepathically, once again, not hearing her, not talking to her out loud, but telepathically. Because of the spirit, I'm here today. She was basically my first teacher. So that's I don't know who that woman's voice is. But sometimes I wonder, is it Aphrodite? I really wonder that. And then I have another experience when I turned about 17, 18, to make a long story short, really short. I got married to this guy that I didn't really exactly know. I was brought up with all these kind of eclectic Christian values, so I didn't live with him before I married him, and he wound up being a psychomaniac. And one day he was holding a butcher knife to my throat, saying, "I'm gonna kill you, bitch." And I looked into his eyes and I said, "Go ahead, because a life without you would be like nothing at all." It was that in love. It was real love. It wasn't soulmate, twin flame kind of connection. I know he wasn't it, period. But emotionally, I loved him and I would do anything for him. And he stopped. He put the knife down. He let me be for a while. Well, I went and I prayed to Aphrodite. I guess you could call it, I think Sinful Tic Tac would be proud of me with this one, because I didn't do, per se, magic. I guess it would be considered more of a, maybe a Greek Hellenistic thing or something, because I actually gave an offering, I prayed to her and everything else, and I knew that she was the kind of goddess, I knew very well, that she would do whatever she thought was necessary to either make or break this relationship, and that's exactly what I needed. Well, after I had prayed to Aphrodite, 6 months after, I had this dream. I dreamed that, basically first I had the dream right after, I'd say about a month after. I dreamed that my husband, which is now my ex-husband, found somebody off the internet, and I was crushed. And he was going to go live with her. And I woke up crying. And he goes, honey, what's wrong? Because sometimes it could be that way. And I was like, what's wrong? You found somebody over the internet. That's what's wrong. You're going to go live with her. Oh, honey, I would never do anything like that to you. Within 5 months, he did it. He not only did it, but the woman had a Navy husband. She had kids. She couldn't have any more kids. She was like 3 times as big as me, if not 4 times at that point in time. And, I mean, she was 10 years older than he was. It was ridiculous. So Aphrodite showed me, she definitely did what she thought was necessary, and it did wind up being the right thing. Because later on, I found somebody a lot better, and my life actually turned from pretty crappy to really great.